Ricky Stenhouse has won the Daytona 500.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daytona 500 winner.
Go!
Let me tell you, that's been a long time coming.
That doesn't really mean any of us saw it coming.
Rise, rise, pick up your weapon and face it.
Delta 12, where racing and gaming join forces for your entertainment. The Daytona 500 this year, as usual, was a showstopper just as much as it was a show starter, kicking off the 75th season of NASCAR racing, and we've got quite a bit to talk about. Unlike the playoff rounds reviews I did last season, I'm not restricted to just the playoff drivers this time, so I've got a lot more to talk about here. Alex Bowman won the pole, securing his 6th straight front row start in the Daytona 500. That's like every single year he's been full-time in the Cup Series. That's got to be a record. In addition to that, we have some both fresh and familiar faces in this year's Daytona 500. Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson in the 54 and the 42 kicked off their Rookie of the Year campaigns in this race. Travis Pastrana made what I believe is a one-off start to this year in the 67 for 2311 Racing. Connor Daly put the Money Team's number 50 car in the Daytona 500. Zane Smith made his first few starts and the only start this season in the 36. Riley Earps came in from the Xfinity Series to run this race in the Rick Ware Racing number 15 car. And most importantly, Jimmy Johnson is back. That's right, NASCAR's most recent 7-time champion is back for select races in the NASCAR Cup Series, driving the Legacy Motor Club number 84 car. And the Daytona 500 yesterday was only the first of those races. I'm personally really happy about this. You all remember in my championship countdown video, I ranked his record-tying 7th championship 3rd. Man, I could have edited that video better. So seeing him not just drive a next-gen car, but be competitive in a next-gen car, it was almost like a time machine. It was like nothing changed. Riley Earps drove about as predictably as you'd expect for a Rick Ware car, spinning out on pit road and bringing out a caution. Again, as you'd expect. Bubba Wallace got sent to the wall at some point. Thankfully, he was able to continue and didn't get himself into any shenanigans like he did to a certain 2021 champion during the playoffs last season, but we're not going to talk about that. Roush Fenway Keselowski was unexpectedly dominant, taking 1st and 3rd at the end of Stage 1, with Keselowski getting the stage win. Stage 2, more of the same. Ford held the race. Kyle Busch managed to reach the top 15 after starting dead last. Jimmy Johnson managed to hang out in the top 10 pretty much the entire stage until he had to pit. And later on, we had our first crash of the race. Kevin Harvick spun Tyler Reddick, who I unintentionally mistook for Ty Gibbs. He collected Eric Jones, and that set off a multi-car crash that ended up knocking Jones, Reddick, and Chase Elliott out of the race. I'm sure the fans weren't too happy about that one. AJ Allmendinger managed to reach the top 10 right as the stage was starting to wind down, and pole sitter Alex Bowman had a drag race with Ross Chastain out of turn 4, with Chastain doing Chastain things and barely squeaking out the Stage 2 win. Stage 3, that's where things happened. Ross Chastain ended up speeding on pit road. I guess the stage win got to his head a little, and Christopher Bell and Noah Gragson also had pit road penalties as well. Ryan Blaney blew tires so badly, I'm positive I'm not the only one who thought that he was out of the race. Kevin Harvick, in his final Daytona 500, managed to hold up in the top 10 before eventually getting shuffled out. And basically a few laps later, he was involved, one of the cars involved in the first big one. Yes, I said first big one. After that wreck was cleaned up and all that good stuff, the race continued. Edge Allmendinger held the lead over Joey Logano, but right as he started to pull away, Daniel Suarez spun and put an end to that run, sending the Daytona 500 into overtime. When the restart happened, the Richard Childress cars of Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch pulled ahead, but didn't get enough momentum and fell back. Austin Dillon ended up spinning out and causing our second big one. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Larson led the field to green in the second overtime restart, and the white flag was taken before Larson got shuffled back and caused the third big one. Despite footage showing not in my heart defending champion Joey Logano getting ahead of Stenhouse at the finish line, the caution was thrown long before then, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. adds the Daytona 500 to his list of super speedway triumphs. Christopher Bell managed to squeak by the wreck and follow Stenhouse and Logano to the finish line. He finished third. Chris Buescher and pole sitter Alex Bowman rounded up the top 5. Travis Pastrana and Kevin Harvick just missed out on top 10 finishes, ending the race 11th and 12th, respectively. Respectable finish for both drivers. Daniel Suarez fought back to 7th after spinning and sending the race into overtime. Good on him. Ryan Blaney finishing in 8th. That's certainly a surprise. He destroyed a tire and a chunk of his race car early in stage 3, and somehow got a top 10 finish out of it. But that's not the biggest surprise of the night, nor is it the second biggest. Those honors go to Cody Ware and Riley Herbst, the Rick Ware Racing cars. They finished 14th and 10th. Yes, Rick Ware Racing has a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500. That might as well be a win for that race team, considering how badly they usually finish. Though, now that I think about it, at one point they had 4 chartered cars. It might be not because the equipment is bad, but because the drivers aren't up to the caliber that we're used to. The next gen car exemplifies this, but I think it's also apparent in Rick Ware Racing as a team. I feel like if a high caliber driver, one who's proven to get race wins consistently, decided to sign with Rick Ware Racing, it could potentially, finally, get that team off the ground. It happened with Michael Waltrip Racing. It could happen with Rick Ware Racing. And yes, I'm aware Michael Waltrip Racing was killed by Spingate. That's not the point. That's all for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, then leave a like on it. And if you want to see more of this, then hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss an upload. Take care, y'all. Ace Delta 12 out.